we're going to start by talking about Man City being top of the league.
Brilliant. I'm so glad I agreed to do this. A, they don't deserve it. You know who you are. And now this.
Yes, they may have lost the FA Cup final. Okay, there you are.
Thank you for bringing me back. I'm in.
There's a little bone.
There's a buck coming.
Yes, but they are very much top of the pops when it comes to the Premier League, Andy Brassel. They have started very well. A good professional job at Chelsea. They hammered Ipswich Town despite going 1-0 down. And I just thought, let's... One can be a little bit blasé when we see so much brilliance really coming from the same place. You go, well, of course they're top of the league. Of course they're fine. But I thought on a Tuesday, let's just take stock for a moment and just think, yeah, Man City is still the team to beat. And as I said before, despite Real Madrid having their name on that European trophy, surely Man City is still the best team in this continent. And it just seems easy peasy for them.
Yeah, and it struck me that when we were going through our pre-season predictions, a lot of us...
I went for Arsenal. What did I do that for?
I also went for Arsenal.
I knew it was wrong at the time.
And actually, when looking back on it, have we gone for Arsenal collectively because we're collectively thinking City can't carry on doing it forever?
I know to will it.
And maybe, yeah.
Mine was to will it, yeah.
We've had enough of it.
A coin in the fountain, yeah.
But I have to say, to go back to producing these standards all over again,
yeah.
It's remarkable, actually, the appetite to be able to do that. If you remove the context and all the other stuff that's still going on and just look at the football side of the operation, of what's actually on the pitch, the appetite of these players is incredible. And, of course, the big difference is Erling Haaland, despite having enviable numbers for last season, didn't look like himself for huge parts of it.
Yeah.
Whereas now... he looks like a guy who's had the summer off against a lot of guys who haven't had the summer off.
Well, he has had the summer off. Of course, he didn't play at the Euros, but according to reports, his father, who we know obviously played football, did force him to spend the summer chopping wood in the forest for strength training in Norway.
He does that every summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very Norwegian. It's a little bit rocky.
Yeah.
A little bit rocky. Balboa, I should state.
Not Maivia.
But
it's a bit 300, isn't it?
It is.
You know when the Spartans let their young go out into the wilderness, and the ones that come back are the strongest, and they become king of Sparta, something like that. I've not seen it in a while. Gerard Butler's in it. You know it. You know him.
They'll come back with
funny accent. But I like the idea that Haaland does this, and suddenly, like at the gates of Sparta, all these wolves are like knocking on the doorbell and let us in. He's mental.
Uh-huh.
What have you sent on to us?
Yeah,
this is crazy.
I know what you mean. It's there's something quite terrifying about it as well. He's just relentless, isn't he? Haaland?
Although it'd be really funny if he's just rubbish at chopping trees. And like all the people who do it have to do it for a job.
Do you think
like,
do you think it's the one thing his dad's better at him?
No, because he's probably doing it with his hands, isn't he?
No, I think that's maybe it. He's like, okay, I know you've eclipsed me already.
Yeah.
You've done it, you know.
I think his dad's probably better at golf than him.
Right.
Lars Sivertsen was telling me recently that when he was back in Norway, he was at the local golf club and they have like this wall of fame. You know how you've got the Centurions at Lord's on the wall in the
like
long
an honours board, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
you're aware of that, Vish?
Yeah. I've got my name up at Lord's.
Have you?
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you use?
Do not let this man in.
Oh, okay.
Check his bag.
Yeah.
So
did you get your Sharpie out? Did you?
if you go to Bruna Golf Club, there's everyone who's managed a hole in one is on the wall, and Lars's dad is right next to
Kim Jong-un.
Alfie Haaland.
Oh wow.
Apparently in North Korea, Kim Jong-un, he 9 holes in one out of an 18 golf course. He did it in...
Oh, he struck like a 34, didn't he?
Yeah, it was incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the footage, but kind of, you know, kicks that into touch.
It's
really.
annoying, isn't it? I think TNT have the rights. can't go online. Ridiculous.
Yeah. So he's been chopping wood. He's been taking it easy. He's probably watching the Euros, laughing, going, "Yeah, I'm better than all of this," and come back to the Premier League. And I mean, that goal at Chelsea was a beauty, but against Ipswich, it was just swat them aside, really.
Yeah,
it was so dominant.
It's you know what Andy was saying before about the hunger to keep going and keep being as successful as they have been. There's an element of, and apologies to you, Marcus, but there's an element of like an NBA schedule about Man City's season.
How dare you?
In that, like, a lot of the early season for the best teams is about the best players. It's about like, you do your number and get your highlights and stuff like that. But there is the postseason, which is the most important bit, which is the playoffs. And the playoffs basically run...
Is that when the Harlem Globetrotters turn up?
Yeah, that's what they're the final boss.
Right.
But there's an element of like, right, when it gets to the knockouts of the Champions League, when we're in the final straight of the league and Arsenal are still there, that is when we all switch it on.
Totally.
And it's when Haaland has a game where he doesn't necessarily score, but he occupies, like the biggest centre-back, and then De Bruyne comes into his own, Foden comes into his own.
Foden starts playing. He hasn't played a game in the Premier League so
but like
far.
Bernardo Silva comes into, their best players comes to the fore because it's almost like they taper to that moment.
How he conditions them throughout the season, which is often underlooked.
Absolutely.
Or overlooked, rather. It's underplayed.
No, I know what you mean, but there is an element of, you still need to get that motivation from the players, don't you? And, little things like, Haaland having the summer off, but also De Bruyne having a really frustrating Euros. And also, Guardiola being able to say to him, come here, let's slap a few people about.
Yes.
Yeah,
it'll make you feel better.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's part
and
of
also,
it.
he nearly went to Saudi. I mean, there was all that chat about Saudi, which seems mad.
This is probably going to be De Bruyne's last season, and I think this is probably the first season in a while that he started relatively, as close to fully fit as I suppose he ever will do now.
And I guess the return of Gundogan does something as well, doesn't it? Because
he wants back in.
He can come back and go.
Can I get paid here? Because
I guess he can come back and say, when if you're Ederson or whether you're De Bruyne and you're thinking, do I want to go and try something else? Don't. It's shit.
Yeah.
Because the defining thing, as we said on OTC recently, the defining feeling of Ilkay Gundogan at Barcelona is that he goes there and he becomes like German Roy Keane, basically, because he goes in the place and he's like, the standards are so shit. Why do you guys put up with this? And actually at Barcelona, no one wanted to hear it. Like, no one wanted to hear it at all.
He told the manager to stick it up his bollocks at one point as
well. I think so. And
Steve Coogan's
in Spanish and Catalan. So intelligent guy. But I think for him, the feeling of coming back, as you say, to the warm embrace of the most relentlessly professional team in club football.
It's an empire at this point.
And to be able to say amongst the players, like, let me tell you just how good it is here. I think that's an incredibly galvanising thing.
Yeah, that is a great point, actually, because one of the reasons City, one of the many, many factors as to why City are so good is because of the comfort that they give to players and like coaching staff as well. Like, we talk about it with how they courted Guardiola, where they basically got everything, everything around him, so that there was literally, a Guardiola-shaped silhouette that they could just put him into.
Yeah, but your family are living next door now. Yeah, they've moved in.
Yeah,
all your best mates are here.
We can give you if you don't like number 10, we can give you number 11. Don't worry about that.
Exactly,
we can knock through it.
That's right.
But yeah, that is a great point. I didn't really think about that with Gundogan, because it's like, Barcelona is lovely. The place is lovely. Yes. Maybe not the club.
Well, and that's the thing at the moment in the European football landscape. It's been like this for a number of years now.
It's about the add-ons rather than
But where else do you go? I mean, it's a shame that's the way. I don't think we're sort of saying this is a good thing. You're just pointing out. But where do you go? I mean, Bayern, obviously, they're sort of pretty well drilled, but even at the moment, in terms of playing football,
not great developers of players. And I think
PSG is the other one with a bit of money, but it's the same old names.
In an era when players have a far greater handle on how do I manage my career and how do I develop myself. And you look at how Mbappe and Haaland are managing their careers, for example. Now, Haaland might have had an initial plan to come to Manchester City for 2 years, keep a release clause. And I think you get a little bit down the line, you're like, actually, where else can I get better? And there's not an obvious answer to that. And I think if you look at the other, we talked about Ederson and De Bruyne, I think you look at the players at the other end of the scale, how much Doku improved last season. It's ridiculous. You couldn't do it under any other coach. And you'll find the same with Savinho this season.
But Barcelona was one of those destinations.
Yeah, it was.
And so there's one fewer destinations.
We say that, but I think it's Arsenal.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal is that club.
I mean, look,
they were linked with Gundogan, and I wonder if actually City got him back because they didn't want anyone else to have him, because he does improve other teams. But the like just to talk about the Ipswich game for a bit. That run from Sammy Smodics was outstanding.
Uh-huh.
And then the finish was like almost kind of reiterated that like you've got to be like, if you're not perfect, you've got to be lucky against City.
Yeah.
And they scored too early. far too early.
But they'll always have that moment. That must have been
100%. And that's the right way to think about it.
If you're in the away end, of course. I remember I think I've referenced this before on the pod, but years and years ago I used to work with a Palace fan, and they went when Old Trafford was a fortress, when it wasn't a leaky, old creaking stadium. When
leaky
it was a
piss
fortress.
dungeon. Yeah.
Exactly. And obviously you've got lots of Man United fans in the office. They lost 5-2. At half-time it was 2-2. And I think, I might have been Karai in goal for Palace. I can't remember who it was, but a penalty was saved by the Palace keeper. And he came in and all the Man United fans were like, oh, lucky 5-2. Because he used to travel and see them play. And he was like, what are you talking about, lads? I had a brilliant time. We scored 2 goals at Old Trafford and we saw a keeper save a penalty. Like normally you go up there and you lose 3 or 4-0. And that's it with Ipswich fans. You know, they have that moment, and you say for it was only a short period of time, but for a period of time they were leading at the home of Manchester City.
This time last year, they were recently promoted to the Championship.
Yeah, what is it? Like 5 of the last 6 seasons they're in League One.
It's incredible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And one thing we can be definitely sure of is that Ed Sheeran enjoyed the moment.
Is that why you want them relegated at December?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, he reckons that the Ipswich are going to stay up. Which,
do you know what? I agree with him.
Yeah.
But I think...
You reckon?
Yeah, I do. But I think what they've done recruitment-wise, of course, Jack Clark arrived from Sunderland just at the end of last week. I think they're recruiting very smartly because they're spending not an insignificant amount of money, but they're using the Premier League money in exactly the right way that as you should if you're a promoted team. There are two sensible ways of doing it if you come up to the Premier League. Either squirreling all the money and saving it for a promotion bid, or investing in really, really good, fairly young championship players who can either keep you up this season, or if you go down, you're going to have a squad that is absolutely going to blow the doors off the rest of the championship. So they've kind of
I know what you mean.
hedged their bets quite nicely. And, you know, if they do, I think the way they've done it is really clever because I think that they might just about have enough to stay up, and I think they'll develop nicely because McKenna's such a good coach. I think they'll be way better in March than they are now. I think there'll be a turbo version of what Luton were last season, for example. But if that doesn't work out, these guys will have been playing for each other, with each other for a season, and they'll get like 100 points in the Championship next season.
They can be forgiven for not winning their opening 2 games against Liverpool and Man City.
It doesn't get any harder. It literally does not get any harder.
Arsenal and Man City. Yeah, but the point is, you know, that what you were saying, Andy, is that be sensible with it. Don't go, yeah, we're in the Prem,
but they're not doing that thing of not spending.
Yes,
yeah.
So I think the way.
No, but I think what you said there
yeah.
was about right. I think that's it. It's a bit like for example, Neil Warnock has tweeted Noel and Liam Gallagher today saying, "Enjoy it, lads, but enjoy it by being disciplined." You know. So
I mean, Andy was just like really articulate there, and then you decided to slap him in the face with Neil Warnock talking about the Gallagher brothers. Was
it not relevant?
Well, no.
I couldn't
enjoy it by being disciplined. We're talking about a man who knows a relegation scrap in the Premier League. All right, I think you should have a bit of respect for him. Quite frankly, you've let yourself down there.
For Liam or
for everybody Colin. I've mentioned there. Everybody I've mentioned.
You might as well talk about it. Are you happy they're getting back together? That's what people want to know. Are you happy? No, Marcus, I put it to you, Minister. Are you happy that Oasis are getting back together? Oh, it's not really Oasis because technically the drummer left in '83.
Pete Best has never been the same since. I think the expression "dog with 2 dicks" sums it up.
Which one's Noah? Which one's Liam?
Yeah, I'm just wagging the tail. Ed Sheeran, old Eddie Sheeran, fancies Ipswich to stay up. And do you think they're going about it the right way? Leicester City are the only promoted side to have earned a point in the first 2 matches. Of course, Jamie Vardy was the man to earn that point, really, with his goal against Tottenham Hotspur. Steve Cooper said he saw a team competing at Premier League level during their loss to Fulham on Saturday. I mean, look, they only lost 2-1 to what is now an established Premier League side. As I say that about Fulham, I'm a bit like, can I? No, I can. It's their third consecutive season in the Prem. Marco Silva, I love the man, and he knows what he's doing. And they just have signed Emile Smith-Rowe, good operator, and so on and so forth. Fulham were the better side in that game. But of course, they only lost 2-1 Leicester, and another day you get a bit fortunate. A little bit like against Spurs, Leicester were second best for large parts of it, although they came into it when Vardy scored. So I think Leicester, there is a bit of, I think it's almost like a lack of belief perhaps, because against Spurs, we saw them when they scored. Suddenly they were like, oh, hang on a minute here. And they went for them, and they weren't particularly daunted. So I think Leicester will stay up. I think they're the most likely to stay up. Just because they feel like that they belong here. I don't think there's anything plucky about them.
Cooper's a really good coach.
And that as well.
And I would say with all the context of everything that's been going on at the club for like a long time now, their financial issues are not new. If he can keep them up, that is a Herculean achievement.
Especially with, what might come down the line in terms of points deduction as well.
Yeah, so that's the elephant in the room.
So that's the thing I think I had Leicester City to go down in my prediction, but it was not purely, but it was heavily to do with the fact that they might, be deducted points.
Yeah, and they are hamstrung by their issues. They've not gone out and recruited as they would have liked to. I guess that's the difference for me between them and Ipswich. Even if Leicester are the globally established Premier League name, I kind of feel that we've seen a bit of fight from Leicester so far. I don't see how it gets better in 6 months' time. Whereas I could see a road to Ipswich getting.
Well, I think that's fair. So you think so? Maybe I'm looking at the badge rather than the squad and some of the more.
No, it's just my view.
Yeah,
it's just my view. I mean, you've seen Leicester in the flesh more recently. So.
Yeah, you did say Spain had no chance of getting out of the group in the Euros, Andy. So
fortunately, no one's reminding me of that.
As loath as I am to remind you of that.
This is your problem, Andy. You
go on telly.
You approach things with logic, and that'll be forever your downfall.
Silly sod. Well, Southampton have lost their first 2 games as well, away at Newcastle and at home to Forest. Away at Newcastle, they played well. They come away from that thinking
they're really good. Even before the red card, they were really good.
Yeah, the loss at home to Forest, it's a slender loss, and Forest are the more established Premier League club. I think it's a bit of a disappointing one. It's early days, of course, but that's a side they're hoping that they could usurp.
Totally, but it wasn't just that. It was the way they played. They're really timid.
Well, Russell Martin described it as very tense with St Mary's during their first home game. So that kind of goes hand in hand with what you're saying.
It also flies in the face of what he was saying. I appreciate it's not on him per se, but he was talking quite big about sticking to their values and that they're not going to change for anyone. And I think in his dressing room, in his office. Sounds
like a quote from Rishi Sunak, quite frankly.
From Guardiola.
Okay.
The play out to help out one, not the eat out to help out one.
Very good.
But basically about sticking to your principles and stuff like that.
I see.
And it's really easy to talk like that at the start of the season.
Yeah.
It's even harder to talk like that when you've lost the first 2 games. But I agree with Andy. I thought they were really disappointing against Forest.
Yes.
Because it was maybe you need a bit of time to just feel a bit more comfortable at that level. But they played Forest like Forest were an established Premier League team, and they're not.
Yeah, no. And you're right. And to give the full quote, he said there was so much tension inside the stadium today. I get it after the last time the team was in the Premier League, but we're here now. And I think that's it. When you look at Southampton, there's a psychological barrier, and I think Ipswich have the same, although in a different sense, because this is more excitement. It's kind of like, my goodness, we're back in the big time after having been out of it for so long. I don't think Leicester have that psychological barrier necessarily of the 3 teams. But Southampton, let's be honest, I'd be hard-pressed to find anybody, I think, to find someone predicting Southampton to stay up this season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think going back to what you were saying originally, Marcus, even though it's only the second game of the season, there's a sense for both of those teams that, you really got to beat these.
Yeah.
Which makes it...
Well, at least really not lose, I think.
Yes.
Yes. Can I ask you something about Matías Fernandes?
Yes.
Is he someone who's going to start for them and make them better? Or is this just...
Why did you think Andy might say no to that question?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no,
we've just... You just had a go at him for giving his opinion earlier. So I had to bring him back.
I reminded him of his opinion earlier. I think there's a difference.
I was maybe because Sporting didn't feel he was good enough to start. He had a good top flight season last season, but it's a big leap.
Yeah,
I think to try and make them better. You know, when we were talking about Ipswich and players who will do you good over the medium term, for me, he feels more into that category.
right.
You know, I don't sense with Southampton there's, even with the rest of this week to go, there's a load of recruitment that's going to make us think, oh yeah, you know, they're definitely all in for staying up here.
Yes.
Which again, I suppose it's a little bit like Leicester. If you go back over the last 25, 30, 40 years, they're an established top league name, aren't they? But I feel like you that they're really going to struggle to get promoted. It's almost like they got promoted a little bit too quickly.
Time will tell, Andy, as it always does. All right, let's have a quick break, after which we're going to talk about Crystal Palace, the Carabao Cup, and Wayne Rooney having a drink.
Hello, I am Sven-Göran Eriksson, and you are listening to the Football Ramble.
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Crystal Palace have lost their first two games of the season. They lost 2-0 to West Ham at the weekend. They lost their opening game to Brentford, of course. At the time of recording, they've still got Mark Gay, but it's not looking too good at Crystal Palace, Fish, at the moment. Not a great start to the season. Obviously, Elise has lost. Glasner's still there, though, who had such a fine start to his Palace reign at the end of last season. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, well, I mean, was Glasner, did he get kind of thrown into the bucket when Bayern were looking at future managers? Was his name mentioned?
But Palace, what they were asking was so ridiculously large that Bayern had to withdraw.
Yeah, I rate that. I actually thought they were very unlucky against West Ham. They played quite well. They had chances. Odson Edouard had a funny game, but he's sort of turned into a bit of a funny player. He almost has that... He's almost playing like how Mateta used to play before Andy sacked him off and he got really good.
Oh, you're having a pop at Andy now as well, are you?
Well, just, you know... just on your side, you're hosting the show. You got more of the power.
We're very lucky that Andy is either very forgetful of our predictions, or he's just full of grace.
Yeah.
But he just rises above it, probably.
Yeah. It's not hard when he's arguing with two people who are 5'7".
5'8". Yeah. Carry on.
But there was a whiff of Moyes about this West Ham performance, because they didn't necessarily have control of it, and they were ultimately just more clinical.
But did you not feel there was a bit of a difference with this? Because if you look at the origins of both the goals, Wan-Bissaka has a massive role in the first goal. Because he's always criticised for being like a very competent defensive right back, but not an attacking one. But the way that he brings the ball up the pitch quickly, he doesn't necessarily find the right ball, but the way that he brings the ball up quickly completely changes the momentum of the game and leads to the Soucek goal after that mini scramble. And the way that Kilman brings it out for the second goal, and neither of them are particularly orthodox counter-attacks, but all of a sudden you're looking at West Ham, who I'm still not quite sure about them, to be honest. I know Jim's like really big on their recruitment, for example. But that's the moment, I think, where you look at that recruitment, you think, okay, like maybe it'll take time to develop, but there's something to work with here. Because to have two defenders who can bring the ball out like that, to help them provide moments of eventual quality, to win a game that really I think they're quite fortunate to win. West Ham, I agree with Vish. I think Palace have played like fairly well in these first two games and got nothing for it.
But do you think Lopetegui conducting their half-time team talk outside behind the stand in the changing rooms at Selhurst Park, do you think that had an effect?
So I wondered if they were doing that because, you know, they talk about how sometimes at grounds the away dressing room is shaped a certain way to make it harder for like to give team talks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there's also this like high performance.
Well, like the manager's chair's just around the corner from the way.
And you have to sit there.
Yeah.
You have to sit in that chair.
Yeah.
But you know, there's like some high performance bollocks about like, oh, sometimes it's shaped in an L because it's, you know, affects their mentality. But I wonder if it, you know, it was cramped enough that he was like, why don't we just do it outside?
Well, it's just like one of those cool teachers, like when it's a hot day at school.
Oh yeah.
You know, we're gonna go and sort of do geography on the grass.
Why don't we throw a ball around outside and talk about our feelings? We're playing football, mate.
It was pissing it down on Saturday.
Is that right?
It didn't look that bad at the time.
Okay, I love the fact that you think the away dressing room.
He is from the Basque Country. It's still practically summer.
Yeah,
so.
True. Or what? Like they just have like I don't know, some sort of white noise playing away so they can't hear each other. It's a bit Barry Fry. He used to do that, didn't he? You know, turn the heating up during the summer months and the heating off and so on.
Was not the white noise the sound
Brian
of him
Clough.
peeing in the corners of the stadium?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that had an effect. He is one... Well, he is... I don't know, a few yards away from becoming a bit Phil Brown there, isn't he?
No, but I also think that's quite... I think it says a lot about how someone isn't just stuck to the norms in the sense of like, for example, no manager's ever going to use an umbrella again in the rain because of like headlines, you know, in 2008.
But none of them were doing it before that.
No, I know, but it's also like smart. It's raining. Use an umbrella. But like, what do you mean?
No, come on.
No, it's not ridiculous. But also,
I heard that actually there was something to do with like a microphone on him as well or something. Anyway, it's a conspiracy.
Right, okay.
I've got a McLaren conspiracy theory.
Fine.
If anybody, no, I don't think anybody does.
But I was going to say Jamaican be crazy, but that doesn't make sense. Anyway, but obviously, like if he thought
That's why he's gone there. No need for an umbrella out there.
But actually, you do because it gets quite hot, so it protects you from the sun.
Oh, that's true. Maybe we see it
Again, he's going to be burnt to fuck now because of that. Poor bastard.
Evening games only.
Anyway, the point I was going to make was, if that had gone badly, it'd be like, oh, he's taking them outside. He's doing people outside. What an idiot. He's lost his mind.
Yeah.
He's a cabbage now. Give him an umbrella or something.
He's a cabbage.
But he's not.
It's kiss of death, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know, it's not like he wasn't worried about the optics of it. He was just wanted to do his job, and I think that's a pretty solid reflection on him, and it obviously helps that they won.
A solid reflection on him. Well, maybe Glasner will do the same. There are reports that Crystal Palace are interested in signing Raheem Sterling, which would be that would be a lovely one. Basically,
That's very vibey. That I like it.
I love that. I really, really do. And I mean, for crying out loud, you know, if you've lost Elise, of course, very exciting and talented player, so you've got space presumably for someone in that sort of type of role, that kind of forward position. You know, Raheem Sterling's training with the bomb squad at Chelsea. Just go and get him. And say, come on, Raheem. Wage-wise, you are going to have to meet us halfway.
Can I just throw something in the mix?
Go on.
Ben Chilwell as well?
Raheem Sterling reportedly is open to a move to Manchester United.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Him on one side, Mason Mount on the other. Come on, Harry. You know, it makes sense.
Yes.
Southgate waiting in the wings.
No.
What's wrong with that?
No, Southgate stay at home.
That would test me, I'll be honest with
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for your service.
I guess the thing, though, you wonder if there's a...
By the way, Sancho Sterling swap deal, apparently, Andy.
Yes,
Come
yes.
on.
Yeah. I do love it. We're at this point just far enough out from the transfer deadline that people, and I don't mean mischievous journalists, I mean clubs and agents, are thinking of what's the most outlandish deal we can get away with at the moment, especially as you need something to get things moving. Going back to the possibility of Sterling at Palace would look amazing in the kit.
Yes.
I do sort of wonder if there's a touch of Wilf Zaha to it, though, because I absolutely love Raheem Sterling, but if he went there, he would have to go there. You would go there thinking, oh yeah, Palace, I'm going to be the main guy. You won't, because it's Eberechi Eze. That's the issue. And that was the problem as you got further down the line with Wilf Zaha, because it became Eze and Elise's team, whereas, you know, he was used to being relied on for everything.
But you're not
so
thinking
I
at this
know a lot
point,
of
and he was on like
fans-
goals and corners and free
But
kicks.
do you not think at
and,
this point, though, especially what's happened to Sterling, I think he'd be okay with that.
I think they could sell it to him in a way that you've seen how we play, not just with the new manager, but generally how Palace have been, especially at home, and just think you're gonna have fun here, and you're at a point of your career where I think fun's kind of what you want.
Definitely, he's won nearly everything. He's not in the England squad, hasn't been for a
Gets
while,
to stay in London,
etc.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
And the
All the
Palace
big
fans
things,
surely would love it, having a massive player like that.
But I think the Palace players would love it as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think, you know, just having someone who is that direct and, you know, it's better for Mateta, it's better for Eze, it'll be brilliant for Wharton. I think it's a nice move. I think this is, you know, having brought the Manchester United thing to the table, I really think if his advisors have any sense about them, they say, look, you've already gone to one basket case and it's really not worked out. But
Yeah,
Palace, that's the move for me.
Quite possibly.
I'm into the idea for sure.
Well, gentlemen, Crystal Palace are back in action tonight in the Carabao Cup. They are playing Norwich City, which, quite frankly, for the second round of the Carabao Cup, I'm going to describe that as a glamour tie.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you not?
No.
Why not? We'll pick out a glamour tie. Millwall, Leyton Orient?
Yeah, there's the one.
Ooh, that's good. I like that.
It's funny. It is at the
Birmingham City, Fulham.
Yeah, it is at that sort of weird stage.
Do you see what I mean, people?
your chances of drawing a team who are way too good for you to beat, but aren't that glamorous, are quite high. So Wimbledon, for example, have drawn Ipswich.
Yeah.
And there's quite a lot of...
So it's a big tie. Again, the context is crucial. Second round, not third, second round of the Carabao.
I think the context is important, like school holidays, reduced prices.
Fine.
Yes. It's a good thing.
Would you say... I didn't say it wasn't. Would you say...
They're all going to sound like under 21 games, aren't they?
Would you say that Wayne Rooney's Plymouth Argyle travelling to Watford is a big tie in the Carabao second round?
I would say it's one of the many ties in the second round.
It's an accurate description, I'll give you that.
He went for a drink on his own, didn't he?
Oh, straight to the punch, eh? I'm not saying he was on the punch. We can give you an exclusive story about Wayne Rooney. Let's say a friend of the Ramble, shall we say, was out with a few friends in the Barbican area of central London and went into a bar, and who should they see on his own having a drink, all above board, nothing dodgy going on, we need to say it, was Wayne Rooney.
What better way to celebrate an away point, a hard-earned away point, than a solo pint?
Yeah, in a place that's quite far away from Queen's Park Rangers. But yeah, they this you won't, well, unless the photograph makes its way on social media. But this is a Ramble exclusive.
Yeah, suck on it, Fabrizio. Did he not go back with the team, or did they stay the night in London?
Evidently, unless they were all sitting at another table.
You know, so there's a photo of this, like the group of lads who found him.
Barbican's not even that close to QPR.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Maybe he likes the architecture. Is he?
Must be.
He's a brutalist man.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Also, the way they found him, because of how he looks.
When
right
we say
now,
found, he wasn't lost.
No,
well,
he was sat at the table. And he had a beer with him, and the photo looks like he was there almost like waiting to give clues to someone on a quest because of how beardy he is. He's just like sat in a corner and he's quite dimly lit.
Yeah, I once
Greetings, traveller.
Yeah, you're right. I once went on one of them. It was someone else's. It was a stag do, actually. One of those.
I think it was Mordor, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And you go round and so on, and you're absolutely right. That would have been amazing. You turn up at the end and there's Wazza.
Yes.
God.
You do think though with Plymouth, there's a lot of long travel, isn't there? And you've got to find a way to break that up. I reckon if you looked on his mobile phone, if you looked in Google search, it would say, "Can you get a pint at Welcome Break?" Wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I did a really. It feels quite juvenile, but I was out in Manchester on Saturday, and I didn't have any cigarettes, and
it's bad for your health.
But I just went into Google Maps and typed in cigarettes, and I was like, this shouldn't work, and it did, weirdly.
It's a terrible habit.
Thank you for watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an upload. A single upload. Don't miss out on the uploads. The uploads are important.